I have never cried over salad dressing, and I don't intend to start now. Oh, by the way, we're live. Welcome, everybody. This is Triple S Live. Just caught us in the middle of an absolutely impromptu, casual conversation there. Sorry, I was like replaying part of a conversation that we had a few minutes ago while we're waiting to go live.
It's still valid. It's still a valid conversation.
How's it going?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So...
Cried over salad dressing, Sword Sister. That's what I'm talking about. Saib sat down just a few minutes ago at his chair, which you would see if he actually had a webcam he would turn on, and just said, "The salad dressing is so good, I'm gonna cry." And
it's good salad dressing.
Yeah,
it is very good. I tried it too.
I'm sorry, salad dressing's just not something I can get excited about. Half the time I eat salad without dressing. I mean, it's not like it makes it better. It's still salad.
It's rabbit food.
You either like the vegetables or you don't like the vegetables. By the way, I got a bowl of carrots here. I'm probably not going to be eating those until after the stream at this point because they're very crunchy. Maybe I'll mute myself.
We are. We might as well. We're going to try and get a camera, and I'll go on camera sometime soon here because we did break 40K. And
shock and awe, Saib face reveal.
Yeah, we might do that.
Which you've already seen if you picked up our book.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a picture of him in there. Hello, the ham. Hey, Blunt Man, Sword Sister. Glad to have you all here with us.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome to the part of the show where we just BS while people come into the stream. And we'll talk about news in a little bit. Good evening, the ham. Yes, we have people watching from all over the world. Tell me, have you ever cried over salad dressing? And what was the other question I was going to ask? Yeah, what are you playing right now? And what are you going to be playing here in January?
I was going to say, it really looks like this is the year that gaming is just going to be gone forever. I mean,
gone?
We have unfortunately, there is a major recession quite possibly going to hit in 2023, and some of the latest numbers for gaming are out, and it doesn't look good, ladies and gentlemen. But to be honest, my grandfather did tell me that this was going to happen when I said, "Hey, I'm going to get into gaming." He was like, "That's a terrible idea. It's a dead end business." And to be fair, as we see, you have those numbers from the chart, Ash?
Yeah, I do. Yes, you want to talk about that now? Okay.
Yeah, so we unfortunately have to live with the fact that yes, gaming's dying because arcade gaming has in fact been reduced to almost nothing.
Look at this.
There is almost no arcade gaming in the world at all. Like back when I was like,
39 billion back in the early 80s, and now it's this tiny little sliver down here. You can't see my cursor, but I'm circling.
And in the late 80s, I was like, I want to make video games, and my grandpa was like, "It's a dying industry. You're never gonna make any money from this. It's all like they're closing out all the time." And in the 90s, it just got bad, and then 2000, it was worse, and then now there's nothing. It's a sad thing. So yes, video games are dead because arcades are a thing of the past.
Just everyone press F, pay respects to the Wreck-It.
So glad I'm not a boomer.
To the Wreck-It Ralphs of the world. So you really want to make here's the reality though. This is going to be very much a state of the industry show. If you want to be making money in video games, well, you're going to be making mobile games. The money is in the mobile. It's insane right now. I've got a couple of charts about this. Consumer spending on gaming, loot boxes, and currency packs. Now, this isn't just mobile, but we know this is always, these are very mobile game strategies that they're basically trying to bring into our beloved PC.
As we learned from South Park, these are brought in from the devil. So the devil actually
it's an invention.
Was it the devil or was it something worse? It wasn't the devil. It was one of the devils. Yeah, I remember that.
Not surprised if we discover this is an invention of Satan.
Yeah. Yeah,
this
honestly,
is obviously
not,
a projection.
Not shocked at all.
This is a projection chart. It goes all the way to 2025. Mm-hmm. So either this chart was sent to us from the future as a warning, or although it doesn't look like it's not going to be going up all that much over the next couple of years, according to this. But still, now we're looking at almost $20 billion. This is so not 19,318 million. So that's $19.3 billion is what they're projecting for 2023. Consumer spending on gaming, loot boxes, and currency packs, and how much of that is just getting flushed down the toilet because you're not going to get stuff you want anyway.
Right. Sword Sister in the chat says mobile gaming isn't going to friggin' take us anywhere, however.
No, it's really not.
It's all about the money.
There are some...
Well, it's so let me point out what's happening in mobile. So in mobile gaming, what you are getting is every time the machines get more powerful, they will eventually catch up with a lot of actual PC gaming and console level gaming. So that catch up factor will get there eventually. It's going to get there. That it's not going to be the peak, right? You're not going to be installing the latest like AAA or quadruple A, these quadruple A games that's being whispered about. You're not going to be playing those on your phone most likely, like unless something really crazy happens, which I really doubt. But I doubt we'll ever be playing that quite at that level for those things on the phone. But what has happened is you can take the handheld department, and as the mobile department got bigger, handheld got smaller because they're effectively the same thing. There is even I have a controller set up I have two controller setups for my phone.
For your phone, yeah.
Yeah, and so I can play with a controller on my phone. And that has replaced that handheld device. And there's a lot of indie games that I play that because they're making them on things like Unity or in like RPG Maker or some of the other like much smaller things, because these are small scale games, because they're indies, they're made only by one or two people usually at most. There's an option to just build an APK file for most mobile devices right there.
Yeah, that's true.
So
you can. Unity is
so
Unity's
a lot of my
pretty good for that.
indie game playing is available, which I don't actually do because it's part of the reason why I'm playing them is testing and bug reports and stuff like that, and I can't really do that on my phone. But that is starting to grow in that perspective, and I would like to point out that handheld portion has really moved into the mobile. Not all mobile games are bad, and here's the big point that I wanted to make: that PC games and the console games, they are eventually going to be coming over to mobile, just because that's what people wanted with the PSP all those years ago when that was a thing, right? They wanted to play their PlayStation games on the go, and so they started doing that, and then they gave up for some weird reason. You have a lot of Nintendo games that are essentially a handheld device now. We like our nephews were playing with the Switch constantly over the holidays, so that is something that's not really quantified in this particular graph. We don't really see it shown there, but it is right in the sense of the vast majority of the money is from these microtransactions. Get addicted to spending. And it's very concerning because, again, over the holidays, I heard it over and over and over again, like, yeah, I can't wait to roll on some items from the shop. And it's like, oh no, what are you doing, child? No. This is not good. This is not healthy. Stop thinking about it like this. And so, unfortunately, the newest generation of gaming has unfortunately been suckered into this.
Yeah, this
is
what gaming
do worry.
is.
Yeah,
well,
I really, really do worry about where the future of that little nightmare is going to take us.
Yes, so I agree.
So that's the one thing that I have the most concern about is the fact that, yes, we know that the monetization in these games is a nightmare, and that's a huge problem. But it's not. I don't think it's the end of gaming, because eventually this will get so big that the government will come in and they will tax the ever living crap out of this stuff.
Well, and also people are going to realize that these games are crap too.
Yeah.
Eventually. I mean,
some of the newest ones, they're like, it is shocking that, games like Genshin Impact, games like Tower Fantasy, games like, in that category, these are as good, or in some cases, I hate to say it, better than what you have from the traditional competitors.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Specifically Nintendo, right? Like, Nintendo's next Legend of Zelda game has to be so much better than Genshin Impact, and if it's not, then I really do think that's basically, this is the end of Nintendo. Like I'm not joking, because if they can't compete with something that they set the standard by, after all these years of seeing how it works and all that kind of stuff, if they can't get to the level, if they can't get on the Switch a smoother, nicer, more expansive game than what Genshin can do on 5-year-old phones right now, then I don't see how they can compete in that market going forward.
Which aspects are you talking about? Smoother in what way? You mean technically, or do you mean
just better? Like more graphics. Like, the character creator on Tower Fantasy was amazing, and it was smooth. The combat was like combat in both Tower and in Genshin, in the vast majority of cases, you're playing a very smooth, lag-free experience. That is not the case the last time I saw one of my nephews playing. It was one of my nephews. It was somebody else playing the last Zelda game,
Breath of the Wild.
Is that
which was
it
he
was
on
a little chunky?
Was he on a Switch
places.
or a Switch Lite though?
I think it was a Switch Lite, but that's my point. Is like, if they can't compete on this level, that's very dangerous for them.
Okay, technically, but I mean, it's not going to be the end of them though. Even if the new Zelda game has some lag on the new console, or on the current console, I should say. Zelda is such a powerhouse IP that it's going to do gangbusters regardless.
Again, you say that.
I say that, and I say that confidently. Now, you're not going to have a mass exodus from Zelda fans switching over to Genshin, right? Yes, they're competition, and yes, they do need to make a good product in order to remain competitive. And yes, like some of the comments in the chat, yes, Nintendo is dropping the ball in a lot of ways. But I mean, and I'm going based on the assumption that it's at least as good as the average Zelda game, which is pretty dang good.
Zelda, I believe, so this, I've got a chart here. This is from, when is this from? Give me a date, you stupid POS. Like, obviously, Mario is in a good state. Like, Mario has made, I think, over $30 billion in his lifetime. So that's in a good state. Zelda is not in that good of a state. What do you think Zelda is at as far as, like, this chart that I have?
I don't know what the chart you have is showing.
It's just, it's a collection of all video game IP and how much they've made over the years.
How much they've made? I don't know
when this was posted. This is the top 50 highest grossing. It's Title Max, so I mean, it's not Title Max. It's no, it is Title Max. Yeah. So these are financial people.
Okay. So you said Mario's at 30 billion.
30 billion for Mario. Pokemon is at 90 billion. So whenever this report was put out. So Pokemon at 90 billion, Mario at 30 billion.
Relative to Mario, I don't know. I'll say 10 billion for Zelda.
Not even close. Not even close.
Really?
It's at 3 billion.
Yes, but how many Mario games come out compared to how many Zelda games come out?
Right.
Very few. Very few. Like, there's like 10 Mario-themed games for every one Zelda game.
That's the movies.
So, well, and then the movie now, yeah.
Now,
so it's, yeah, it's, so it, I don't see what's the point you're trying to make looking at that graphic? Which, by the way, if you send me the link, I'll put it up on the screen here.
Genshin Impact has already surpassed that. It's already at 4 billion.
Yeah, okay.
So that's the difference.
That's not going to... How much crossover do you really think there is, though?
Well, it's essentially the same game. Like it generally is pretty close to the
yes,
same.
But I have...
Like, combat-wise...
You're talking to somebody who is, admittedly, I'm a Zelda fan, so I'm biased. But
I'm a Zelda fan, too.
I've had zero interest in playing Genshin Impact.
But it's so cute.
Why would I play a Zelda clone? That's not Zelda, you know.
Well, there's no fairy going, "Hey,
listen."
Hey,
oh wait,
listen.
yes, there is. It's called Paimon.
Oh right, Paimon.
And see, like the cute, anime appeal of it doesn't work on me. So,
my point in this is that again, like I think Nintendo has mishandled the Zelda IP for several years now. I think they've always mishandled it. The fact that it was that Zelda 1, Zelda 2, Zelda 3 were so far apart, and then there was this giant gap before we got a next one, and then they've never pushed it because they always saw Mario as the better version of it. But that's because they didn't ever really push what they could have done in the Zelda universe. And I think that's boils down to the company being bad in the sense that they don't move as quickly or as fast as they should. They don't allow market force to factor into things. It's so bizarre how they handle IPs there. Now again, I'm not saying that Genshin Impact is better. I'm not like Genshin Impact.
It's just for the sake of comparison.
Genshin Impact is graphically better than every Zelda game ever put out. It's its capability as far as like playing on devices is obviously they have more of an access to the bigger market, and that's the danger that Nintendo has put themselves in by refusing to move outside of their comfort zone and giving people what they're literally, the famous Fry meme from Futurama.
Yep.
Shut up and take my money.
Yep.
There's so many times where it's like, please take our money. We're trying to buy this product. No, we will not sell you this product. Well, why not? Because. Is there any logical reason that you can give us for not selling us this product? No.
Just because.
Yeah.
Just because. And that mentality is just like if Nintendo had capitalized on the mobile market, bringing out a controller that hooked to your phone via Bluetooth and allowed you to play all of their old games on your mobile device with a traditional first Super Nintendo controller, they would have half of this mobile amount here. They would have half of that. They would have a 40 billion cut of the entire mobile market if they had just done that. But they've refused to do it. They still refuse to do it. And they still refuse to do it for the future. Are you have any plans of going into mobile? No. Why? Well, we prefer to make our own mobile handheld devices at a loss and then sell them to you so that you buy a selection of games. Why don't you just put that selection of games on the existing mobile market? No. It's like...
Well, no argument for me that, I mean, pretty much everything you said here is absolutely 100% true. You're not going to get any argument from me on that. I don't believe that Genshin Impact will kill the Zelda franchise or will kill Nintendo. I don't think mobile, because part of it also is how mobile is coming about this money. And we know it's inflated because of loot boxes, because of,
like I said,
all those things.
The governments will eventually.
They're gonna crack down hard. Well, they already
because
are.
they as soon as they realize how much taxable money they can make off this stuff, and they'll say, you know, they'll do it the same way that they do alcohol and lottery and all that other stuff. They'll be like, oh yeah, we're gonna tax it at 50%, and then we're gonna take that money and we're gonna fund all of the you know, all the baseball leagues, the little ball, you know, like the little baseball leagues, the sports centers, and it's like that's a better use of the money for sure. Like it is, but it's eventually going to come down on it, and then it's only going to be the big companies that are going to manage to survive, and it's going to crush a lot of the smaller companies. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you cut their profits by 50%, the mobile market is still one of the best investments you can make in. So
yeah. For the time,
but the problem is that it's a dirty market. When I say invest in it, I'm saying don't go running out and invest in a particular company. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. A lot of these companies are built with shell money. They create a good concept, and once they have the concept, they'll declare bankruptcy. But then they'll sell off the IP and all of the conceptual like asset flipping stuff to themselves in this weird thing when they, you know, when their bankrupt company is being chopped up. So you get investors to fund your experiments until you get a good product. Then you immediately declare bankruptcy. You cut loose all your investors, and then you start up a new company with all of the digital information that you've gathered, and then you immediately produce a game in a tenth of the amount of time that it would have taken you whilst still being under your investors, but now you're making 100% of the profits. That's what I mean. It's a dirty thing.
Fraud, though?
It is basically fraud, but because you're dealing with this on a lot of international markets, there's a lot of places where these games are made that there is no such rules. Like if you there's certain countries in this world that have a lot of these game developers where a lot of these developers are from, specifically Malaysia and Pakistan, where like good luck trying to get a lawsuit against them. It's not going to work. I mean, even in India, we see the problems that are there with all the fraud that comes through phone systems, and it's like, well, you can sue, but I mean, even if you march into these like small towns, it's like these guys are bringing in more money to the small town. You know, they own the police service in town because they're bringing in more money than the rest of the town combined. So that's there's been a couple documentaries on this stuff. Like, go look them up. There, some of them are really, really good. I don't remember one off the top of my head, but I was watching one the other day where it was the phone scam ones, and then we were watching the phone scam centers. These scam centers. It's the same process. It's the same process. They get capital from somewhere. They bulk it up, they ship it in, and then they declare bankruptcy. They have a local auction where all the same people just buy their own stuff from the investors. They defraud the investors. They set up all these shell companies, and because they're already doing something illegal, it's almost impossible to catch them anyways. That and I did watch a lot of. There's a lot of good information on the Josh Strife Hayes. Josh Strife Hayes. I can never say his name properly, but he did a big, deep, long, like 30-minute documentary on gaming and where it went wrong and what happened to it and stuff like that. But I'll say the same thing he said in that, is that while there's a lot of issues here, what we actually see from this thing is actually better. What we're actually seeing is way better over the long haul for gaming. What do we see? We see consoles are dying. I know some people really hate it when I say this, but consoles are dying. Why are consoles dying? Because you can now at this point get access to a PC machine that's going to function better than your console. You can get access to a phone device that functions almost better than a console, and you're getting them for again, it's not the same price, but it's like within that same price ballpark. So with that on its way, with the especially the tablet slash laptops that they're making, where it function as both a laptop and a tablet. It's like that allows you to play a lot of the traditional, PC games on there. You can download Steam onto those things, and you can play a ton of games on them, and you even have touchscreen interaction if you want on it too. All that stuff is under this umbrella of PC gaming that's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. You just look at it ballooning out, and you look at the Japanese market, especially the Japanese market. They were almost exclusively console 10 years ago. And now they're shifting almost exclusively to PC. So consoles generally are starting to die off. They were really big in the mid 2000s. But they have been getting slowly crushed by just the ease and accessibility that PCs are now bringing. The fact that more kids are learning how to use PCs at a younger age. It's just going to crush them in the future if they can't maneuver into the field. That's why Microsoft moving most of their games to dual release on PC and console has been a much better idea. Like it's like they're going to end up winning that fight in the long haul. And consoles, again, they're when people talk about the PlayStation and when people talk about the Xbox, those things by themselves don't even factor into 10% of the entire gaming media now. That's the other reason why consoles are dying, because if you release a game onto a single console, you're servicing about 10% of the market.
Yeah,
if you release,
even with the Xbox that I have, I basically just use it to watch shows. It's like my DVD or my show streaming device now. I don't really use it to game because most of my games are on PC because my PC can handle it better than that thing. And it's not like a bad console either. But still, just the capability is I can both game and chat and browse stuff on the internet at the same time on one device, rather than I'm playing my game on there but I don't like the voice chat, or I can't even hook up a headset to that. I have to either use their proprietary stuff for Xbox only, or I plug in a cable to the controller, but it's I want a wireless setup. That's why I have this Bluetooth headset that's hooked up to my computer, and hands free I can walk into the kitchen and I can still hear stuff going on. Whereas, I'm basically tethered to the console if I play it.
So this chart here, it cuts off in 2020, looks like. 2020 total was 165 billion.
Yeah, because we don't...
do we not have the numbers yet?
Well, so the thing with these, a lot of the numbers, we're not going to get 2022's number until almost the end of 2023. And we're still waiting on some of the info from 2021. That's how hard it is to get some of this data, because a lot of this data is super private, right?
Yeah.
So you have to wait until, for companies that do not talk about their anything, right? They're super tight-lipped on every financial number. You don't even know how much money they make, because if you knew how much money they make, and we'll get into this with the union story, then the workers might go, wait, you're making how much money off of me?
Yeah.
You're making times... in most companies, you try to have between a 15% to a 30% gain on your employee. So for every dollar that you're paying the employee is making you $1.30. That's a really good investment. Typically, it's around $1.15. That's a great investment. You can run entire empires off of that level of gain. But in some of this stuff, and we'll get to this with the union stuff, that difference is employees you're paying the employee $1, and for every $1 they're making you 50. That's what's going on in some of these scenarios. And as soon as people find this out, they're gonna freak out. They're gonna have this and we're going to see it. I'm going to say it. This year is probably going to be the year of the union, or at least the beginning of it.
Yeah.
In gaming, because once people realize that their bosses have been making hundreds of millions of dollars off of their backs and they've been like, congratulations, here's a $500 bonus for this year. Man, that's not going to go over very well.
No.
But the last thing I want to point out here on the consoles is that what we are seeing is again, if you're releasing a game to a single console, you're only accessing like at most 10% of the gaming population. If you release it on both primary consoles, you're getting maybe up to 15-16%. Maybe. Again, these are like on the high side, because we have the Nintendo console in here, and not all games hit all devices. And out of the ones that do, they have the biggest reach, obviously. But just the direction that we're seeing here, console's not happy, and Shota agrees. He says, yes, consoles, not a good investment. And again, it's not because I don't have a hate on for consoles users, especially not the users. I am frustrated with the consoles, with the companies that run the consoles, when they were played on our system or don't play it at all. That's the mentality that I've always hated.
Yes, well,
because it's like it's like there's so many different options. It's like some singer coming out with a hit song and saying you can only listen to this on Apple devices.
Well, when you own the console, I mean, the goal being to get people to buy the console so they can play that game. But is that really economically viable anymore? Probably not.
Well, this is a thing in the past. 20 years ago, this made sense. It was a legitimately decent argument you could make, right? It made sense, and I was a fan of it back then. I bought consoles 20 years ago, 15 years ago, but that's when I stopped, because it no longer became a thing. You no longer needed to do that because of the way that PCs were coming and the way that mobile devices were coming. You just didn't have to have the same thing anymore. You could move past it. You could evolve past what the demand was. And so that's why I'm looking at this and I'm going, yeah, no, this is going to hurt down the road. PlayStation and the Xbox consoles are a thing of the past. What they have to move into, if you look way up at the top of that chart, way up, you see the handheld, the little tiny sliver of that still alive. It's still alive. It's trying so hard,
and it's certainly becoming like there is a bit of a blurred line between that and mobile, like you were pointing out earlier.
Right. But the thing that I want you to see there is the two new things, and this is where the consoles can find new life. This is when I say the consoles are dead, I mean I'm talking about consoles as is. So as they are typically right now. If the consoles did the smart thing and bundled those consoles with VR units right there, they're going to have a greater success, because consoles are super mobile. You don't have to have a big screen. If I could grab a headset and a console without a screen and plug those into a large room where I can move around freely, right away, that sells me on that. That's a good thing. And that's the thing that's been making me look at some of the VR devices that are attached to the PlayStation going, now that's a good system. Mm-hmm. That's a good sale. That's something worth the money. But right now we're still on the cusp of that. We haven't seen exactly where they're going to go with that. And then the other thing to see that can save consoles is the cloud, right? We're not there yet. We know what the intent is. The intent is for PlayStation to eventually just sell you a controller, essentially. They'll sell you the controller, and then you're going to press the button for the controller, and then it's going to be able to connect to whatever screen device that you have, your TV, your monitor, whatever, and then you're going to play all your games while it's streaming from the router to your handheld device.
That's fantastic.
Yes, that's their plan. And if they can make that technology work, that's where the consoles can then be saved. But as they currently are, buying a console, buying two controllers that you can't use them pretty much for anything else, and you sit it down and you have to play in front of a big TV, period. that's your options, that's not going in the direction that we want. That's gonna cause a massive hiccup. But if they can branch off into the cloud, into the VR, if they can really focus in on that kind of stuff, I think that's where they'll be safe. And I think that's where they'll be able to offer you those experiences where, hey, you can't get this on the PC, or at least not most of your PCs. Mm-hmm. This will be way better to have it in our system because it's been entirely designed around it, completely designed around it. And that's what we want. That's where it's like, okay, now you have me interested back in the consoles again. So as is, I think consoles are dead.
So what you're saying is consoles are dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, they need to evolve if they want to like.
But the companies aren't necessarily going to go under as long as they can evolve, as long as they can adapt, as long as they can be the new thing, and then you have a choice. So you can be Blockbuster, or you can be Netflix. Mm-hmm. That's the choice that you have right now, and every company has to make that decision at some point as technology evolves. All right, let's read some chat, and then we'll get on to some of the other topics here. Mm-hmm. By the way, if you haven't slammed that like button yet, then please slam the like button. It's a little bit lonely. Slam it like Moon just demonstrated. Show us again.
Yeah.
Smash the like button. That helps bring...
this is something else. Blunt Man here in the comment. This is Blunt Man. You hit the nail on the head for this. When you said that the one of the issues that you're having with consoles is that you don't own the game that you buy. And I want to make this clear. In cloud gaming, this is also the biggest problem with cloud gaming, is that when you buy a product, you can turn on your device one day and it'll go, sorry, your purchase of, let me pick a really good one here. King's Quest 47 has been removed due to a copyright violation from the parent company. You are no longer allowed to play this game. Well, and it's like, but I bought the game. No. You bought it to play it whilst we allowed you to play it. Now that we don't want you to play it anymore because we don't want to pay the ongoing expenses of that system, of that purchase of the IP or the music or whatever causes that, whatever the recent news has been for the when this has happened on the current consoles. It's like when that happens and they just delete your game and it's just gone.
That actually happened to me. I had this really fun side-scrolling game, and it had beautiful artwork, really fun, simple, like, sort of game mechanics. And I went back to go find it the other day, and it just, poof, it's gone. Like, I still have, like, the icon that I got that I use for my little avatar, but, like, the game itself just gone.
Wait, this is a game you bought?
I was not happy. I don't remember if I bought it or not. It's been so long since I played it, but I remembered it, and I wanted to play it again, and I couldn't find it, and I was very upset.
Well, yeah, that is, and this is going to become more and more of a problem. And yeah, this is part of why Stadia was such a disaster. You buy a game and then you stream it. It's not, I mean, digital storefronts have this issue too. If GOG goes down, like if GOG just disappears one day, if Steam just disappears one day,
right?
Well, what happens to your game library? It's just gone. Not that, I mean, you kind of have the same issue with, if you have really old games on disc that no longer run on your operating system, and I've got a bunch of them, you kind of have the same problem. Yeah, I have the physical copy of the disc. Can't use it, though, unless I do all kinds of gymnastics with my computer to make it run.
Right.
So you have a little bit of that, but yeah, I guess the question being, did you ever own any software? Like,
right.
Even your own, even the old Nintendo cartridges, I've got a Nintendo cartridge. I've got a Super Mario. I've shown it on stream before. I've got a Super Mario World Super Nintendo cartridge. If I don't have a Super Nintendo console, I can't use that cartridge, right?
There's readers that read that data.
Sure, like you can do it, but for most people,
I get what you're saying, but I mean, it's the same problem with the old hard disks and floppy disks, right?
Yeah, eventually you just can't read them.
I mean, CDs, the data on CDs only lasts for like 50 years.
Eventually, yeah. So, eventually, I mean, I realize this, but what you're saying is absolutely a big concern. Like, if you're buying games on a streaming service or a digital storefront, you don't actually own a physical thing. If that company goes belly up, yeah, you're SOL. And yeah, Bluntman says I would prefer an outdated disc or cartridge than just online games. Yeah, see, I get where you're coming from. At the same time, there's just an area. For me, I prefer the convenience of being able to download the game and not have to keep a stack of game boxes somewhere. But there is that trade-off, right? Mm-hmm. There is that trade-off, and I have to wonder if that's something eventually consumer protection legislation is going to have to address. You know, people bought your product, and it's a digital product. What do you how do you protect the fact that they actually purchased that? And you got the money, but then in 5 years they don't have the product anymore. Mm-hmm. You know, yeah, and some people.
Stone says, I like game boxes, but I hate having to buy a new game if a disc gets scratched. That is true.
Yeah.
I had a Kingdom Hearts game that I couldn't play because it had a scratch on it, and so it would only go up to a certain point, and then just no more game.
Yeah, it almost seems like there should be some way in an ideal world, there would be some digital vault somewhere where you'd be able to provide proof that you purchased this thing, this game, right? Even if it's like a game from 20 years ago, the original Sims or something. You can provide
right.
proof that you bought it. You should be able to access it, even if the company that made it is no longer there.
I used to have a game called Ever-Growing Garden. That's great.
Well, let's get very conspiratorial for 1 second here.
Oh, of course.
National treasure level conspiracy, not crazy person on the internet conspiracy. I have heard
National
rumors,
Treasure was absolutely realistic.
I have heard rumors that Gabe has a backup system in case the internet grid ever goes down, where you can provide your data, and you will be able to get a hardware device that has, you could purchase a hardware device with your entire library installed on it.
Interesting.
I've heard these. It's not the first time I've heard these rumors from different sources. It's always been kind of like, yeah, Gabe's always been thinking about like what happens in the case of like, everything goes down.
I mean, he'd be the hero of the internet or he'd be the hero of the world if that's true and the internet infrastructure did crumble. I mean, yeah, talk about, he'd be the richest man post-apocalypse.
But he's always been a forward thinker on this kind of stuff. So I wouldn't. Gabe is definitely an underrated person. People don't know the importance of Gabe in the system, and I got to say that I think that if he was running a country, I think his country would be pretty legit, because he came to the understanding of basically this like hardcore freedom of speech on, as far as video games go, on his system, where it was like, we're not going to tell anybody what they can or cannot do as long as it's not illegal. Like, we have laws on the books for game content, right? Like, you can't make game content with certain illegal activities, being depicted in it. That'll land you in jail, so we don't allow those games on it. But you can play and make games that have, violence or other things that aren't necessarily, okay to do in real life, obviously, or that you do in real life. You just can't, do it in public, that kind of stuff. But the fact that he went out and did that, and then they set the hard stance of like, look, this means that there's going to be a lot of trash games, asset flips and garbage stuff like that. But that's where curation comes in, and the curation is not just from them; it's curation of like you can follow your fellow gamers as they have a list, and you have this review system. I do wish the review system was a little bit better. I understand the pain of having like of massive downvotes all at one time, because on a game that's not even related to a thing. I do understand that, but I actually think that's important to have.
But can't you and is there an option to turn that on or off though as a user? Like you can filter the reviews based on like if they identify, this game got review bombed during this period, we're filtering those out. Like I've seen that alert before where it's like we are filtering out and I mean someone tell me if this has changed, but I've seen that where it's like we're filtering out these.
No, they still been doing that, but my thought is that I don't want them to necessarily filter that out. I like where they have it now, where it's like, like let me see a chart of the reviews, right? Like that's what I want to see. I want to see like just how they have the players on it, right? When in like Steam charts, where it's like, I want to see where there's a dip or where there's a spike.
Yeah,
because those dips and spikes can have important choreographed information, and then if you can range the comments to be associated with the time that those were posted, then you get a bit more of an understanding of why those dips were happening. So I think that's fine.
And I think the whole system, as long as you can choose to filter it or not, I think it's fine for them to do that review bomb identification and say, hey, we're filtering this out, but if you want to see it, just click here and you can see the unfiltered data. I think that's fine. But if only like if only mobile storefronts would catch up to where Steam is at as far as curation and reviews and stuff. Some of the garbage when my kids are wanting to get a new game, and I honestly some of the mobile stuff, and I'm happy now that they are getting kind of more into better games like on the Switch and on this.
With what we've seen building as far as against the Apple loss there, with the whole, you have to allow other stores on your system.
Yeah.
Sorry. Like you have to.
Yeah.
You have a monopoly. That's coming
down the pipe. Yep.
Yeah, and that's coming down the pipe, and I think that is probably the best thing for us. And again, Nintendo, if you really wanted to do something, you should set up your own store and put it on devices. Like that way, everybody knows that that every game on that store, on the Nintendo store, is Nintendo products, and they know what they're getting with that. I think that's totally a good idea.
That would be just fine.
Should have been around for the longest time. I think it would be better if they incorporated it with Steam or with any of the other existing app stores. It's like they should.
Yeah, Steam had a mobile branch on that you can install onto your mobile device.
They're
That'd
getting
be fantastic.
Like, they've been planning this for a while.
That'd be fantastic. Because like the nightmare, it's not even worth like when I'm just looking for some casual thing to play, some puzzle game or whatever for my phone. It's just like 2 hours of work just to find the one thing that's half decent. It's not even worth it. But anyway, this was kind of in response to Sword Sister's comment. You folks should see how those hyper casuals are being made. Studios are spamming 10 games out the door monthly. Yeah, there's so much garbage out there in the mobile market. So much garbage. And that's why I don't know, I feel like mobile's in a bit of it seems overinflated, the amount of money they're bringing in. I feel like it has to even out eventually, especially with you've got governments cracking down, you've got it probably will be taxed. Loot box and other types of things are being addressed in legislation. It's but it's sad too that there are these garbage mobile games that are spending tons of money on advertising. So they're obviously bringing in lots of money at the same time. Mm-hmm. And like some of the games I'm seeing ads for on YouTube, it's like, how is this even a game? This is like a clone. It's like a crappy clone of 100 other crappy clones that I've already seen.
Yeah.
And yet they're spending money to advertise it to me. So obviously they're bringing in money somehow, and I feel like that's a sad state of affairs. Yeah. All right, so we already discussed the not owning the games you buy, game boxes. Hey, we got Funky Moyne in the house. It's been a while. How's it going?
Hey, Funky.
It's not the end of consoles, it's the end of closed gardens. Well, yeah, it's not the end of I think Saib's point is that it's the end of consoles as they have been running before. And I think that as long as if they adapt and evolve, then it will not be their end. But if they choose to stick to their old way of doing things and continue with those walled gardens, yeah, it's going to be the end of those consoles, maybe, and other companies will take the place. It's the Blockbuster versus Netflix thing. Consoles will become more open and become what Microsoft foresaw 15 years ago, the central hub for media consumption.
Yeah, honestly, if my Xbox didn't have the capability to stream like shows, I probably would be touching it right now.
Well, yeah. Let's see. That's not why smart TV and phones will take over the consoles. They will take over because they adapt every year. Consoles every 5. We already have TVs with GeForce Now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah,
Brilliant
that's the other
point.
thing. Yeah, exactly. Consoles have this 5, 6, 7 year turnover period. Maybe like with a subversion within that span of time. And yes, Happy New Year, Funky.
Happy New Year.
Yeah. But that's the way things are going. I mean, everything's going to streaming now. It's like you don't own your movies anymore. I mean, you can buy. I mean, I guess I still do see lots of DVDs on sale at Walmart, but last time the idea of spending $20 to buy a DVD now is just. Yeah.
Who has the space for that?
Well, who's got the money for that?
Yeah, like space in your wallet, space in your home. Like, heck, I remember when my parents used to have like a ton of VHS tapes, like a ton. They literally had like those shelves that you had like the little drawers that you pull out that you put the tapes in.
Yeah.
They had like mass numbers of those. And I'm like, I don't think they even have a VHS player anymore.
Well, and at that time, that was your only choice, right? But now, when you can spend, I don't even know what Netflix costs right now, but you can spend, say, $12 to $15 a month, watch all the movies you want, or you can buy them at Walmart for $20 a pop. That's would I pay $5 for the rent of a movie? No, I would never. I don't and never have.
Yeah.
Sorry, text messages coming in here. But the thing is,
shall we swap over to unions or? Oh, sorry.
Well, I just kind of want to address Funky's point. So,
sure.
He says, I'd rather pay $20 and own a license and a medium that allows me to watch the movie whenever I want. And you know what? That's within your
point.
You're within your prerogative to do that. It's not my preference because, I mean, honestly, how many movies do I watch more than once these days? Not very many. So,
but Nightmare Before Christmas every year or all the time.
Yeah, and I do have some DVDs and Blu-rays that I keep, just because I want to have them, but I don't have anything to play them on.
Yeah,
so even if I'm going to watch Lord of the Rings now,
depends on the movie.
Yeah. And Funky, it's So it is sentimental yeah, okay. Yeah, and I get that. I've got my Lord of the Rings box set more for sentimental reasons than for practical reasons. I don't even have anything that'll... I've got a Blu-ray player somewhere, but I don't even know where it is. And to actually hook it up would be a hassle. So if I'm going to watch it...
Just mod your PC.
Yeah.
get one of those like things that you plug in. My dad got me, because I had a laptop that had no CD drives, no CD reader. So he got me a thing that would just plug into the side of my laptop and then just put in the CD there.
Yeah. But yeah, my main point is that this is the way the world is going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm all for having options. I'm all for companies still
Options
providing
nice.
the box set for people that want it. Absolutely. I know, like, for myself personally, I mean, there's so many new, and part of it is because I'm in this business of content creation, so I'm always moving on to the next game. The number of games I go back and replay is very, very slim. Very, very slim to none. But that, I don't represent everybody, and I fully acknowledge that, right? External Blu-ray. Yeah, and then push comes to shove, I would do that. So, all right. Well, anyway, I think we're all kind of... we don't disagree as much as we maybe sound like we do there. All right, so I guess let's talk about unions, and let's talk about how we're less than a week into 2023, and already EA has had an epic fail, and several other companies have had epic fails. Oh, speaking of old games, hold on. Sorry, I know we're going to talk about unions, but Colossal Cave comes out this month. This is one game I'll be playing. Absolutely, I should be getting a pre-release review version of it. I emailed the company, and Ken Williams emailed me back personally, which was quite a moment for me, because he and his wife Roberta were the creators of so many of the fundamental games of my child. What do they call that? Where it's like fundamental to formative,
yeah.
Gaming experiences of my childhood. King's Quest and Police Quest were the main ones I played. So anyway, hopefully Colossal Cave will be really good. What I'm hearing is really good. But what's just super exciting to me is that Roberta and Ken Williams are back in game development. And the thing is, I love to bring them up anytime I hear people saying, "Okay, we need more women in game development," which is a fair point. But I like to point out that that basically was a woman, who basically invented the graphical adventure game genre with her first game, Mystery House. I think it was called Mystery House, and then went on to develop, the King's Quest series, and basically, she and her husband founded Sierra Entertainment and created. Now the thing is, they retired before most millennials were born, so no one's ever heard of them. But now they're back making Colossal Cave, which was an old text adventure game that they've turned into now a 3D graphical adventure game, and it's going to be released on VR. We'll be covering it, absolutely. I'm hearing great things. Unfortunately, I won't be getting... I think they said I'll be getting a code for it on the 16th, so that only gives me a few days to actually make some content and review it, but...
Yeah, she created the idea of three-dimensional adventure games, and she doesn't get the praise that she should get on that kind of stuff, because it was her mind that came up with the idea of what if we played this but in a three-dimensional universe? It's and people at the time were like, "What? That's impossible. What does this crazy woman want with her crazy three-dimensional dreams? Oh dear."
Well,
and it's
her first game, which she it was a commercial. It sold 10,000 copies or something. That was literally written and programmed at a kitchen table. It's very impressive. Anyway, Funky says, the The only thing I care about in that regard is everyone should get the pay they deserve. Women should not be paid less. I see what you did there with the L commented out. Yeah, no, agreed. And I don't want to get into all of that. I just like to say, there have been some women in game development who have done fantastic things, and because they were good, and because like the reason that their the reason their company succeeded, the reason their games did so well back in the day, Sierra Entertainment, is because their stories were really good and their characters were really good. And it wasn't about fitting some sort of political social narrative. They just made really good stories. In fact, I'm pretty sure some stuff that they made would just definitely not get made today. Let's put it that way. Yeah, and by the way, did anyone just tell me in the chat, and maybe we'll talk about it in a minute, but did anyone else brave the what am I trying to say here?
The ravages of time? Yes, I
No,
have.
did anyone else brave the putrid swamp and actually watch Witcher Blood Origins?
No.
No,
I saw that and I was like, all right. I appreciate one or two of the actors in this because I can't remember her name, but the older Asian woman, she's in like everything these days. She's a phenomenal actress. She's great. That one where she plays like 100 different versions of herself in a bunch of different dimensions. There's phenomenal work she did in that. It's absolutely great.
Yeah.
But but she was typecast into this, which kind of sucks. But the them trying to like boot up their own universe of The Witcher. This is why this is the year of dead Hollywood. Because
I wrote. Did you see that thing going around Twitter?
What?
Did you see that thing going around Twitter that was like, give us 10 reasons why you should watch this show, and then they have the actors saying like, oh, we could give you 1,000,000 reasons. 2 dudes kiss, and one of the characters uses sign language. It's like, okay, is it the story's any good? Is it characters? No, but or who cares about that? There's some cool action, and we got this one actor in it. Yeah, okay, but this is like, is it good show? Is it a good show?
The back and forth,
who cares if it's a good show?
The back and forth on the whole sign language thing is like, so my take is like very middle of the road on this. It's like English, right? You're watching a movie about ancient Vikings. They're probably not speaking English, but why do you watch a film in the language that you speak and understand? So you can understand the things better.
Right, yeah.
Sure, there's a stupid idea out there that you don't need, that you should film things in their original languages. But that's stupid because you're trying to understand what is going on the screen. And unless you can convey that all through just a visual medium and then a tonal medium, which the tone doesn't even set right, because there's lots of languages that use tone to distinguish different words.
Yep.
So it's the same word, but when it's higher or lower pitched, it has different meanings.
Completely changes the meaning.
Yeah. So when you have that also falls into this perspective of you're not, normal people don't know that. Normal people don't know that there's there's one word spoken at different tones in one language, and in the high tone it means banana, in a low tone it means an axe.
Yeah, like recently I was telling Saib, there's this one tongue twister in Chinese that you could do where it goes go 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 go, which means that guy over there is taller than that guy over there.
And that's what it means.
And it all sounds like the same word. Yeah.
Go 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 go. I probably just said.
You mangled it.
You mangled it. Yeah.
I probably just said your mother is a monkey or something. But
but that's the thing, right? Is like and so the anger at the whole like sign language thing, it's like I find, so why they put it in there was a self-centered hypocritical
Hypocritical.
arrogant thing to do. Oh, this movie is better because we put in sign language. It's like,
Oh wow.
Well, yeah,
okay.
if that character's there because and I'm writing a novel, and one of my main characters has a disability. I'm not going to be marketing it based on that, though, and the character's not in there to make some kind of point about how whatever inclusive I am,
Something
or whatever
diversity.
the hell the word is, something diversity. It's not about that. It's about this is the character I came up with. There's a story reason why she's in this, she has this disability, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And you know who did a deaf character amazingly well? The Quiet Place and Quiet Place 2. They did an amazing job, and they didn't make a huge deal of it.
But because they're trying to make a big deal
the
of
characters,
it, that's where they're...
Yeah, if the character's in there to be like, oh, look how inclusive we are or whatever. Look how
we are so much better than you.
Look how much.
By the way,
yeah.
Did you know that we're better than you because we put this in here? That's where obviously the reasoning falls apart. I don't mind that it was in there. I think that they should add in. I think sign language is one of the most brilliant things that humans have come up with for communication because it's universal.
Yeah.
And for the most part, it's universal. And I think that's a great idea. I think that should be a part of basic, I think a form of basic sign language should be taught to like every kid in both like middle school or like all throughout school. I think
I only know a couple words, but it helps.
But it's so important because there's so many different scenarios in which it's so helpful. And
it's like you're trying to talk to somebody across the way or even just a few feet in front of you, but you can't hear anything because the surroundings is just too loud to differentiate any like conversation. You just start signing at them, and then it's like, wow, I can still talk to you. Great. That's fantastic.
Sure. Yeah. So I find it like being in film and stuff like that, like it does make logical sense. It does have room for that. But the reason why they put it in there wasn't to be like, hey, this is a thing that fits into the universe. It doesn't actually fit into the universe the way that they think that it does.
Because they're just ticking off boxes, like Funky in the chat says. They're just ticking off the boxes. There's couple, the strong women, the simp men, the disabled character, etc., etc. They have no story, no character development, etc. And that's exactly right.
That's really what it felt like. And yes, I've seen the first 3 episodes. I have not seen the final episode because, quite frankly, I just didn't care.
Lost interest.
Yeah, it wasn't worth. I just haven't bothered because I haven't been. And I'll talk about. I didn't mean for this to become a big topic, but yeah, I'll let you know my thoughts in a sec here. But yeah, this character with the hearing disability just felt like she's got like 2 minutes of screen time.
Yeah, and because again, they weren't smart enough to bring it into the whole of the story. No, I think one of the best more recent, so like from the Capaldi era of Doctor Who, I think one of the best episodes in there was the Fish King. I think that was I can't remember the exact name of the episode.
I've seen almost no Capaldi.
In that one they had a fully deaf character dealing with ghosts, and it was the of that aspect that made it was one of the more scarier episodes that they had. It was one of the true like horror episodes that they had, and it did not have it had a great ending in one sense, but it had a really catastrophic, terrible ending in another perspective of it. And it's because of that it's true, this true like deep space horror kind of stuff. And it's like they made that character was the centralized character as far as like the the non Doctor Who companions. And I think it was really well done, and the way that they used that was a not the best, because I don't think, I can't think of the best interpretation, because I think it's done so seldomly that it's not done properly, right? Instead, it's this, hey, look at this trophy. They're literally holding up the person like a trophy in this series. And that's not how you do it. Like, go back and look at how Doctor Who did it, and you'll see that back then, again, the latest Doctor Who's been terrible, and we'll see if things change from there. But so nothing's perfect, obviously, but
yeah,
it's the sense that you guys just lifted this up, and you used the disability as a trumpet to show, like, to herald how great
your virtue
are.
Yep.
Your virtue.
There's no integration into the actual story or show. It's just, oh, I slapped the sticker on here, look at me, special sticker.
Like, you want okay, I do know the best, the absolute best iteration of a deaf person in visual entertainment was oh crap, it was on the tip of my tongue, and now it's gone again. It's this one anime. Crap, hold on, I'm gonna have to look this up.
Yes, please.
I was just saying
it
could be really, as an experimental game, it could be interesting to have.
Also, Kisuke in the chat is trumpeting a silent voice.
A silent voice. Thank you, Kisuke. That's what I was looking for.
There you go.
I can barely say the name of that anime with like, I can barely say it without, like, my voice cracking, because of how devastatingly powerful that film was. It is one of the most heart-wrenching good films ever.
Yeah.
And again, if these cowards in Hollywood wanted to actually understand and actually come out and provide something with worth, they would have something profound like that, instead of going, hey, look at this character we brought in for 2 minutes. Aren't we cool? You should watch this show because we're so virtuous. That level of arrogance. And I get it all the time with people who are trying to, like, stout their virtue about things like, you know, autism and whatnot. It's like thanks for showcasing that you don't know nor care about my disability at all. Thank you for showcasing to me that you are nothing more than a coward and a liar. That's what I feel when I see Hollywood try and do stuff around anything that I'm connected to, and it comes off as so bad, so weak, such a failure of trying, of not even doing, but just trying, that it makes me sick. Or sometimes they cater to some of the absolute worst things of it. It's like that one show. There was one very popular family type show. It wasn't Modern Family. It was one that was in the same time period as that, when that was at its peak. But that show, it had this autistic kid in it, and they made him look. They made him look to the point. They made him look so bad to the point that most people were like, oh, if I'm having an autistic kid, I should just give them up for adoption, because I don't want to deal with that kind of level of insanity. And it's like, thanks for that. You gigantic POS. You did such a terrible job at communicating this thing that you have essentially ruined it. You're disgusting. Yeah. Please leave.
Well,
and that's the level of frustration that I have with that.
Because then they resort, because they don't actually understand and put the effort into understanding what's going on. They resort to stereotypes.
Yep.
And it becomes offensive. It becomes the opposite of what they're actually trying to do, which is to show how virtuous they are. It's it's garbage. The same with like don't shove. I'd love great stories about whatever, characters with disabilities, characters in minority groups, whatever. Give me good stories and good characters. And I will enjoy it. Stop with this crap of telling me there's never been a female-led action movie before.
It's the first of its kind.
Yes.
First
yes, Hunger Games was the first.
Did you know she's the first female actress to fly in a plane? She's also the first one to ever own property. It's like, oh my God, you are...
a load of garbage. But yes, give us good stories and we'll see your stuff. Everybody loved Wonder Woman. Everybody hated Captain Marvel. Have you figured out why? And then everyone hated the second Wonder Woman. Speaking of which, so yes, I watched the first 3 episodes of Blood Origins. Now I know people are ripping it apart and hating it because part of the reason why is that they've absolutely butchered the source material. From what I understand, I'm not terribly familiar with the Witcher source material, but apparently they've like completely reinvented where the Witchers came from, that kind of a thing. Which I can only...
I heard about that too.
I can only go based on what I'm hearing. But anyway, so that's one reason it's getting absolutely lambasted. Yeah,
like,
they retcon everything.
Do something like different from the written works, but you still have to keep in line with the lore. You don't just take something and then you're like, oh, I could do this so much better. Instead of this, we're going to do that because I decided.
Now, put that aside for a second because, like I said, I can't really comment on that. But I'm not that I doubt that that's true because literally everybody's saying that. Yeah, they're retconning everything about the origins. So it's set 1,000 years before like Geralt and the Witcher time frame that we're kind of familiar with. So, even putting that aside, yeah, it's not a good show. It's just not a good show.
Jeez.
Your dogs agree with me. It's the acting is subpar. The writing is so bad. Oh my goodness, the cliche. It was to the point where I was saying lines before they happened. That's how obvious and cliched the writing was. 2 characters meet in a room. You've changed. You haven't.
What are you talking about? Those lines have never been used in media before. They're not something that is literally like one of the most common scenes when 2 characters meet each other ever in filmography, and they're just there because the writers don't know how to actually write anything. They just rehash old content over and over and over again.
It's so bad. It is so bad. The dialogue is so bad, and the narrative framing is so... They rely on narration because it's being told by this bard who's telling the story or whatever, the storyteller. And it's like, so
that has never happened before. Not like ever.
Well, it's not even done well. It's like, it's instead of the narrator's just saying stuff that they could show us on screen. They could show us the character development.
They want to tell us about all the things. Who cares about showing and letting people
it's not like this
gather
it's not like
their
this
own
is a
interpretation?
TV show or
they
something.
Have to tell, right?
So
right.
It was just...
If anything, they should do it more like, what was that show? Gallivant, the musical? Oh my gosh, so great. If you want to do something where like a bard is telling you about what's going on, that's how you do it.
Through song.
Through song!
And just remember not to repeat the same song more than like 3 times in a season. That's all.
Yeah,
you gotta come up with more than just one key song. Does not carry a season.
Oh well, that sorry, that toss a coin song was
one key song not carry a full season. It does.
Anyway, yeah, but like I agree with Funky that the production design was pretty good. Some of the action scenes were good, but still also just not fun to watch. Like, the action was technically cool, but I had no reason to root for these characters. Because they were like, just they were so bland, they were so cliched and stereotyped, and you got, in the span of 3 episodes, now I realize they compressed it, but in the span of 3 episodes, you go from 2 characters absolutely hating each other because of generations of feuding to, you know, one is trying to sacrifice himself for the other, and the other is like devastated and in tears because of harm coming to the other one. It's like there's no, this is not a payoff to anything. This feels unrealistic because you didn't do any character development whatsoever. You just told me, oh, guess what? They're on a team now. That's basically what happened. Yeah, so they're on a team, and now they're like wanting to bang each other and devastated when harm comes to the other one. It's like, the action was horrible except for 2 scenes choreographed by Swordmaster. I forgot his name. Well, to be honest, I wasn't terribly focused on the action. But I guess what I'm saying is, like, some of the action was cool. This is what I'm saying. Some of the action was cool. No, some of it was absolutely bonkers and
atrocious,
like just not all that great either. But yeah, I agree, Funky. There's no setup ever. They just chain payoff lines hoping to get the same effect. Yeah, no, that's not how it works. This does not make for a good show. Anyway, we spent way longer talking about that than I thought we would.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So, actually, this is kind of a good springboard to, we will talk about the unions eventually, although I'll be honest, talking about unions is kind of boring. So, from The Hollywood Reporter, how Netflix's cyberpunk edge runners restore the reputation of the original video game. That's the headline. Did it really, though?
Not really.
No, this is kind of sad if this is how Hollywood sees it. I liked your comment in chat, Moon. And maybe you want to expand on it. But in our private chat, you were like, watch a whole bunch of Edge Runners clones get cranked out of the Hollywood machine.
Yes,
now. Like,
right? Because it's like, they were saying in this article, they didn't expect it to do well at all. They were just like, let's make a thing. And then it was a resounding success.
Well,
but
I mean, everything Studio Trigger makes is fan-bloody-tastic.
Yeah.
That's the point. Because they had great writers, great production team, and just the talent of the studio overall.
When he does something with dinosaurs. And that's when
everyone's entitled to
one mistake. It doesn't work. It's just, please no, if you're doing dinosaurs, trigger, no trigger, no.
Bad trigger.
Putting that aside, these guys had a huge success because, like, just the way that it was animated, the way the story was written, the way the characters were presented was, like, it really touched you, right? And so it was a huge success because of those many reasons, right? But that doesn't make the game any better in my eyes. Like, sure, it brought in a lot of interest of people who, like, maybe didn't really game or didn't really know the franchise before, but now they're like, oh my gosh, this show is amazing. Oh, they have a game, it's based off a game, super, let's go check it out. But, like, there's a difference between the show and the game. I can like the show without liking the game because, like, the show is fantastic for all those reasons, but the game itself, like, they promised that it was going to be an RPG-focused game, which I was really looking forward to. But instead, we got some kind of shooty-looty thing because reasons. Mm-hmm. And then they were trumpeting, instead of, like, the whole, like, story and all these game mechanics and stuff, that they're like, yeah, this is going to blow your mind. Instead, towards the end there, they're like, hey, look, we got this A-list celebrity person to be a character in the game. And then the game became all about that that guy.
Yeah.
And I was just like he's great and all. Don't get me wrong, he's a fine person and he's cool enough to be in the game, but at the same time, it's like I thought this game was about the players, not about him.
Yeah. So
yeah.
did it? But so for those of us who were anticipating the game beforehand, I don't think it necessarily saved its reputation. But I feel like
no, it doesn't have the same impact.
It's very possible that the show brought in a lot of new people.
Yes.
Who were like, oh, this world is cool. I want to check out the game, and they enjoyed it. They probably enjoyed it more than we did because they didn't have the whole build up. They didn't have. Plus, CDPR had improved it.
Yeah,
significantly
there's a lot
by
of
that time.
Since then. Yeah.
But if you go, But so I think saying it restored the reputation, no, I don't think so.
Debatable.
It's brought a lot of interest to the game for sure. But
yeah, it's improved it, but it hasn't necessarily restored it.
Yeah. So I hope people don't think like, hey, oh, your game flopped, let's crank out an anime. That'll do it.
No, but also like you're gonna see with the success of this show now, especially Hollywood, they're gonna be like, wow, this works, people like this, we should make more, like they've done with everything else. Like what they started doing, like live remakes of like old classic fairy tales, and they're like, oh, people like this, okay, let's make more, but now let's make a book.
Those are some great faces Moon just made. If you're listening but not watching, you should back it up about 10 seconds and watch the fantastic facial condition. Oh yeah, Jeremy Renner got ran over by a snowplow. Did you hear about that?
Yes, yeah. Snowplows are very dangerous, especially when you are on very slippery surfaces.
Yeah.
You always have to make sure that you have a kill switch. Always got to make sure that that as tempting as it is to wind around the power cord or something to like make sure that blade keeps on spinning. Don't do that. That is don't do that.
Well,
don't do that.
I know, like,
please don't do
on my lawnmower, I have to keep this handle pressed down or it just switches off.
Yeah.
So
he is not
like that.
I have had more than one family member meet a serious injury by things as simple as lawnmowers. So please.
Oh yeah, you got to be careful for sure. It's not a.
Yeah, please remember the dangers of machinery. Oh Lord. And I feel sorry for him. I think Jeremy. I think he is one of the better actors in Hollywood who's not full of himself. That's not an arrogant POS. That's not a selfish, self-centered. Like, I love that. I love that one guy who does the what's his name? It's like Ryan. He does those. It's hey, I decided. It's this I decided. What's his? What's the?
This I decided.
What's the name of his channel?
I don't know the name of his channel, but it's Ryan George.
Yeah, that's the name of his channel. Thank you.
Oh,
so
okay.
Ryan George has this bit
great.
where he mocked the thing where it's like, oh look, it's Celebrity Guy. Oh, yes, I am Celebrity Guy, and I'm the most important guy there is, I've decided. And they're like, yeah, this is great. But then a fire starts, and they're like, oh no, there's a fire. And the Celebrity Guy's like, hey, everybody, pay attention to me now. What? There's a fire though. Well, I just noticed that you weren't paying very much attention to me, and I think you should really pay attention to me now. And they're like, not now, Celebrity Guy. We've got a serious fire problem. We need to fix this fire problem. Okay, right. If I could only imagine the Celebrity Guy. What? Imagine a world where. Are you trying to sing a song right now? Yes, to encourage everybody. Are you just trying to make this about you? It's like I don't do it justice, but that's the bit. And it's like that's Hollywood in a nutshell. That's literally
no argument
Hollywood
here.
in a nutshell.
No argument here.
And I think that Jeremy and there's a handful of actors that I don't despise.
I really like the ones who aren't always up in my face trying to tell me not to support some cause or to support some other cause. Like or sounding off about political stuff. It's like, I don't care what you think. You do not lead a normal life. Just make your movies and entertain me. And I think Renner falls into that category. He's always seemed like one of the more level-headed ones, even doing like the their media interviews and stuff they do. When he was next to what's her face? What's her name? Actress that played Captain Marvel. When they were doing interviews together.
I really liked her.
And he's trying to banter with her, and she just comes off as an absolute arrogant
cod.
Yeah.
I really liked her in Scott Pilgrim. Like, it was a small part, but it was like she nailed the part. She did a good job, and I do feel sorry for her because she was right about the thing that she got kind of like mad about, where it's like she was all upset about how a bunch of like, she made this movie, and this movie was like directly aimed for young female girls. Like it was a girl flick, it was a chick flick, specifically about having a hard time with something. And a bunch of these movie-ite reviewers were like, I didn't like the movie at all. It's like, why were you reviewing this movie? It's not for you.
What movie are we talking about?
You're not the target demographic.
Like, you're not the target demographic. It's like these idiots that look at Transformers and they're like, I was really expecting to have a deep, meaningful debate on the ideas and concepts behind what does it mean to be alive? It's like, that's not what the film is for. The film is for giant robots to hit each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she allowed that bitterness to really take her over, and she's carried it with her for so long, and that's really disappointing because she had a valid argument when she was upset about that the one movie, and then she just took it so sour, and suddenly everybody else is the problem, and it seemed to me like she never let it go. Either she had a really bad agent who was like, oh yeah, play up the angry part, people love that, which again may be a thing that happened. Like maybe she had somebody who was like, oh yeah, no, you gotta act angry, like that's what your fans want. And it wouldn't be the first time that an actor got bad advice from their inner circle, telling them, oh yeah, this is what the fans want. Yeah, the fans don't always want this kind of stuff.
If she had a pleasant personality, she's not the worst actor. And if she had, I don't know, if she had more of a pleasant personality.
Let's talk about Henry Cavill.
Cavill. Well, I was also going to say, she could only. She had to work with what she was given for Captain Marvel too, and what she was given was not great.
No,
so it's not entirely, but yeah.
Well, she didn't even get a good. The script and directing was terrible.
It was awful. It was awful.
It was absolutely atrocious. And again, that may or may not necessarily be his fault. I mean, Peter Dinklage had one of the worst performances of his life as the Dinklebot in the Bungie game Destiny, but it's not his fault because the director was like, oh yes, we want a very monotone, soft voice, please don't speak with any intonation, and they had a back and forth on it several times. That's not his fault, that's the director's fault. So they can.
That's part of why
Henry Cavill is becoming the king of geeks. He was The Witcher, and then he stepped down from it because there was some problems there with the scripts. And I think
he stepped down. I thought he was ousted, but I wasn't following that story.
No, he stepped down from it, and I will believe that because he came out and said that first. And he had been butting heads with them for a long time about the script and about going off script from the books. If you got something good, stick with it, right? That's the kind of thing that he was saying. I agree with that. I think I'm not a super huge fan of the books, but I think that the books are good enough that they should have just stuck with them anyways, because you like my issues are kind of nitpicky kind of stuff, whereas like the stuff that they were changing was very serious, and we see it now with how good Blood Origins is. They were
yeah, I guess he probably saw it coming. He saw it on the horizon and was like, so get off this train.
He popped over to do Superman, but then they were like, no Superman for you. But he has now gotten, from rumors we're hearing, looks like he's got his own Warhammer 40K show.
Ooh.
Yeah, where he might be the Emperor of Man. So, I mean, I'm just saying, Emperor Man versus Superman. Emperor Man beats Superman every day of the week and twice on Sunday. So,
there you go.
That's kind of a cool idea. That's kind of great for him. So yeah, celebrity news, fun.
Well, I have no doubt he's got a prosperous career ahead still, because he's really good. He's really good.
Yeah.
He famously said, "I didn't get the call for my Superman role because I was painting my Warhammer 40K figurines." Yes. I love that clip of him explaining to, what's his name, Spider-Man. Kid who plays Spider-Man. What Warhammer is. What's his name now? I'm always the worst at recalling names.
There's so many of them. Spider-Man? Which one?
The new one. The current Marvel Spider-Man.
The young kid who can't keep his
his mouth shut. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not Maguire, no. The new current Spider-Man.
Garfield. Oh no, wait, that's the
not
previous one.
There's too many of them, guys.
Who plays?
There's too many Spider-Mans.
Spider-Man in Marvel. Tom Holland. Come on, everybody.
Oh, okay. I sort of know that name.
He's explaining to Tom Holland what Warhammer is, and Tom Holland's like, "Can I come to your house and play it with you?" Sounds so cool. Oh, millennials.
Is this how we make friends? Just invite myself over?
I think, when you're famous enough, you can get away with that for sure. I see we've got... Oh, okay, I just saw some new comments on the Discord server. By the way, join the Discord server. Links in the description below.
Yes.
There's a room where you can post content requests for this very show and also other videos we do. And slam that like button if you haven't already. The likes, it's sounding like likes on live streams really do a lot to bring people into the live stream and get YouTube to promote it. So we appreciate that. All right, we should talk about these last few things and then call it a day. So EA is starting off the year with a cosmic boom, as in faceplant into concrete. EA says it can't recover 60% of players' corrupted Madden franchise save files. So, you like your Madden? You like shoveling money at EA to buy teams and stuff and things for your football game? Well, screw you. If you're 60%, if you're 6 out of 10 players, your save files just all got corrupted and can't be recovered. So, have a nice 2023. Anyway, just rough start to the year for EA. Although this happened back in the last week of December, I believe, but it's being reported on now. Dungeons and Dragons owner Wizards of the Coast, meanwhile, has canceled at least 5 unannounced video games because they made one game that flopped. That's what I got from this article. Their game, what was it called? So, whatever, they released this one game that didn't do very well, and now they're canceling a whole bunch of games. You must have some. I was waiting for you to jump in here, Sib. You must have something to say about this.
So yes, there's a lot of things I can say about this. This is not the first time Wizards of the Coast have done this. They are generally incompetent at basically everything they do. It is only through sheer luck that they have succeeded in the last like 2 decades in any way, shape, or form. This being one of the moments where they start to see good things from from their investment into Larian Studios. They finally they come into the office after for the past 20 years their computer division has been in office B, sub-level D, room 301. And so they go over to the building and they're like, hey, we just made this deal with the Larian to do video games, and now the whole uh, uh, COVID thing is keeping everybody indoors. So it turns out video games are actually really in high demand. We heard from this Larian guy, so we made a deal with him. But then I remembered that there was this room where we had requests and interactions with video game stuff. Let's go there. They walk in, and it's like the fax machine has spooled out all of the requests they've been getting for the last 20 years that they've completely ignored it.
God.
And it's just they're walking in a sea of paper, and they're like, oh, I guess people really did want some D&D video games. Oh, that's so weird. When was the last time we did this? I think it was back when we were working with BioWare to do Neverwinter Nights. Really? Oh, wow, that's a long time ago. Yeah, that was a really long time ago. Why did we ever stop doing that? I don't know, because it was extremely profitable to us. It was? Yeah, well, Baldur's Gate, Icewind Dale, Neverwinter Nights, those were all humongous hits that made a lot of money. Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, so I guess we should start working on 15 projects all at once. Well, hold on. Can we handle that? Are you capable? Well, let's just hire a bunch of studios that are questionable, that haven't really done a very good job, and we'll see what happens. And after funding them for the past 3 years, turns out that all of them, with the exception of Larian, have no bloody clue what they're doing at all, in any way, shape, or form at all. So a bunch of their projects get canceled, which was the same thing that they did back in the heyday of D&D video games. Is they went out, they got a whole bunch of other new studios after kicking out all the old studios, and said, hey, we want you to do all this new stuff. And then they overinvested, didn't have the actual wherewithal to actually make anything, and then it comes in and it completely fails. But this time something even funnier has happened. They've put this salesperson in charge from Microsoft in charge over at their company, and the person has no clue what D&D is, let alone how to market it. And they have decided that all of D&D is highly under monetized, and they're going to start charging everybody as much as they can, especially
we talked last week about how
creators.
Yeah.
Especially content creators. They're gonna come down on content creators who make videos. And as much as I like the Warhammer series, which isn't that much, but as much as I like the
what
some of the styles and things that Warhammer brings, the thing that they've done is the same thing that Wizards of the Coast have now done. So Games Workshop did this first. Now they've done this, and I do believe that the people behind BattleTech and a couple other groups, everything, basically every tabletop system, all these people have come out and gone, this is under monetized. And did you know that there's a bunch of channels that make Warhammer 40k videos, movies, and other things, and that they're highly successful? Well, let's send them a cease and desist, because getting them to stop their work is really, really important, despite how popular these things are. And then
they're only making free commercials for your product.
Yeah, they're only making you free commercials for your product. They're only maintaining the high fan base system whilst you sit on your and do absolutely all. You are so incompetent at engaging with your fans that you don't even understand that people have been asking for a computerized version of your stuff and have in fact been running their own for the past decade because you've refused to engage on this level. Now, yeah, the bright thing to do would be to send out a whole bunch of cease and desists, and anybody who's making money from it, you want to go after them and make sure that you make all the money that you're owed for that, based off of their free labor. Yeah, you want to do that.
Yep.
Now, again, this is their company. They can do with whatever they want with it. And this was a little bit, again, I hate to say it because I hate blaming people who were just trying to do the good thing, but you probably should have saw this coming. Like in all honesty, the people who were working on this stuff should have saw it coming. These companies have not been your friend for a long time, and we know that they're not your friend. And we know that they have not been your friend for a very long time because of things that have happened within the community for over a decade now. We know that they've gone after content creators when those content creators suddenly become uncomfortable for them. We know that they'll ban them from any of their conventions or any of their competitions or tournaments based off of nothing but hearsay. What were you expecting? That they would look at you and go, oh yeah, you've really been helping our community. We won't come after you with lawyers, which is what they've done. So now the dam has broke in the sense of, they're not good at making this stuff on their own. They're not even good at delegating the job because they don't even understand the first thing that it comes to it. This is a complete and total byproduct of mammals eating food show. It has completely exploded in their face, and now we're going to see this again. I still think Baldur's Gate is probably one of the best games there is, and I would still encourage people to try it out and to get it because it is such a good game, and the competition that will arise from the ashes of this failure on the parts of these companies is going to be a long time in coming.
Yep.
I have gotten involved in a project that we can't talk about too much just now to combat this in the most logical, straightforward way, and I'm working with some big people here on YouTube and in the gaming spaces to make sure that happens. So there are things being done, and I would encourage, again, don't give up hope. Don't feel like this is the end, or like, that there's no fix or way to repair this kind of stuff. Tabletop, RPGs are going to go the way of the dinosaur, that kind of stuff. It's not. We have the ability to change things. The humans have a great ability to adapt, and ideas are ever present. And with the invention of certain AI tech, it's going to get easier for small teams of people to compete with huge monolithic companies because it levels the playing field so much. So we're going to see where that goes. I can't say too much about this project, but if you're interested in tabletop and you're interested in helping to do something about the stupidity that we're now faced with, let me know.
Okay.
Let me know, because there's a direction in which we can go with this.
So, should we finally talk about unions?
Yeah. So
I've only been teasing this story for.
It's the whole. I don't know why we went the long way around on this.
Yeah, because
Microsoft.
I'll be honest, unions are boring. That's
Microsoft, Bethesda, and Activision Blizzard have now been swamped with new union stuff.
Yeah. So ZeniMax, a union of game testers at ZeniMax have formed a union, and Microsoft has approved this apparently. So
yeah, between signing physical cards or going through their online portal, they managed to get it through.
This is in combination with now a third studio under Activision Blizzard have begin the unionization process. All of these unions are under the CWA, so that's the Communications Workers of America. This is the third unionized company under Activision Blizzard. This is now the first company under Microsoft, and there's a couple other ones here and there. There's another one, of course, famously under BioWare in Canada, has also gone this route. So this is starting to heat up. This is starting to expand. It's starting with game testers, because game testers are treated like garbage. They really are. Most of them are paid. So I know this is a universal similar story. If you ask anybody who's game tested in the last, specifically going back 10 to 20 years ago, what was it like to be a game tester? Well, I'll tell you. You're told that you can do 20 hours a week because they don't want you to be a full-time employee. But they do expect, and you're going to be paid absolute minimum wage, but you're expected to volunteer about another 20 hours a week.
No.
Now, that's never set in stone, and that's certainly never written on paper, but if you don't show up for an extra 20 hours of free work a week, then really you're not going anywhere in this company, okay? You're not going to be dealing with any of the opportunities to advance into the company. You are going to be looked over for people who do show up and put in their time to the company. This is what many, many, many people have experience with.
That sounds very exploitive.
Yeah, it's not just my story. It's hundreds of them. And that's what they're told everywhere. And why? Because these companies never had a shortage of people who would be willing to do that. There was never a shortage of people willing to work like that for EA, because where they were and the cities that they were in, these people, these young men, almost always young men, would always say, well, I can live at my parents' place and I can, effectively have zero income. Once I get past basic necessities of food, and I could do this, and I can do this for several years and strive to try and get into the company that way. And
so they're doing it on the hope that they'll be able to become an underpaid, overworked dev, rather than an almost not paid, overworked QA tester.
Yeah, and again,
seems like a reevaluation of career goals should be in order there. But anyway, I mean, your point is taken that it is exploitative, in my opinion. I would agree with Moon on that.
Yeah, it's very much exploitative. It's very much been a stain, I would say a severe stain on the video games industry, that, like some other industries, they do heavily rely on free intern work. And again, there's an argument to be made for free interns. There's an argument to be made for free actors and stuff like that, because you will have people that will throw their entire life down the drain, essentially, by working for free at a company in a desperate hope to someday be invited into the club.
Yeah.
And that sucks. And
it's rough.
And it's really,
well, and
really
that's just
rough.
it. There's someone there are people willing to do it, so they do it, and then it becomes the expectation, it becomes the norm, and it's rough.
Same thing with young female actresses getting involved in certain films that they shouldn't necessarily be, because it's like the promise of like, well, if you don't do it, somebody else will, and they'll get famous and they'll get rich and they'll become an international movie star because they worked for my pathetic little company for basically no cost to do a questionable film that turns into something else a little too quickly. Again, this stuff it's been there for a very long time.
Yeah.
And so are unions the answer? I don't know. I honestly don't know, because the two unions that I have worked with, in both cases, stabbed a lot of people, including myself, in the back, so that they could get what they wanted from the big company elsewhere.
Yeah, and
again, I don't want to insult all unions, because there's some people where unions are the only reason why, and we can certainly look at the states, especially California. Unions were did you ever watch Grapes of Wrath?
No.
Grapes of Wrath is a true to life story. I don't believe it's an actual true telling, but the things that happened in the Grapes of Wrath happened exactly as is in real life.
Yeah, so
in the 30s,
it's historical
the
fiction.
20s. Yeah.
Okay.
It's Grapes of Wrath is a story about people coming to California and then getting involved in a union dispute, and then people getting knocked off and murdered and whatnot, to try and desperately retain the wealth that a handful of people had at the time, which is always stupid, because in the vast majority of cases, especially in an expansionist age, turns out that if you actually like pay people like really good, and then you just like, you're like, hey, you guys can make as much money as you want. It's like companies that somebody mentioned The Office before, and it's like there's a great example in The Office, right? They lifted the cap on sales, and everybody was working like mad. Why?
Yep.
Because there was no cap on sales. If they could sell $1 billion worth of paper, they would get a cut of the $1 billion.
Yep.
But because there's no cap, like as soon as you put in a cap, well, why does the sales guy gonna bust his butt to push past $1 million in sales, if that was his if that's oh wow, you did a really good job, you got $1 million in sales this month, great, cool. Hey, what if I brought in $2 million worth of sales? Well, we're going to keep all the sales that you make on anything over $1 million. It's the dumbest idea in the universe. And it makes no sense to me.
One of my first jobs was working at a sporting goods store, and they had sales quotas for us. We got no commissions.
Yeah,
we were paid a pathetic hourly wage, and yet we had a sales quota. It was so dumb.
Yeah.
All of this, however, this reminds me. Have you seen the movie The Irishman? I think it was a Netflix film, but it was from had De Niro, Al Pacino, directed by Martin Scorsese. It's like a gangster film, or like a mafia film, but it's just about the whole. It's Robert De Niro as this mob hitman, and Al Pacino as Jimmy Hoffa, this famous famous union guy who in real life, he was a real person, and in real life he just frickin' disappeared.
I went to college with a kid who said that he was his great grandson.
Interesting. Yeah. This guy was super. Yeah. So he's this huge important trucker. It was trucking union boss, and in real life he just disappears. No one knows what happens to him. In the movie, he gets knocked off by Robert De Niro's character, and Robert De Niro is playing a character who is also a real guy, who apparently claimed at one point that he knocked off Jimmy Hoffa. Anyway, so who knows if it actually is true or not? But yeah, it was a fascinating movie. It's kind of, if you like Goodfellas, you'll probably like The Irishman. It's got like all the same actors, including Joe Pesci.
So there is a good side and a downside to unions.
Yeah.
When unions get too powerful, too controlling, they have the exact same problems that they were trying to solve when they were initially brought in to protect basic worker rights. So I have had a terrible experience with every single union I have dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
I know that in certain places in the world, the union is the only reason why those people are not slaves. And so that is something to clearly take into account. And what I think the best solution is to have an industry that has a mix of public and private companies that have a mix of unionized and non-unionized people. Because what that does is that always creates a pressure release valve for whenever a company is doing something bad and taking advantage of people, or a union is doing the exact same thing, that workers can move from that within the same industry over to a different job doing the exact same thing, and they're able to get a little bit more money. I think that's probably the best system. I don't know. Please let us know in the comments what your experiences with unions are, whether you think this is a good move or a bad move. I don't know. Again, it's one of those things where it's like, we'll see. We'll see what's good. We'll see what functions. We'll see if this is an adequate change, or if it'll be squashed, or if this lights a fire and suddenly pretty much every single company is unionized. And then how that affects gamers, we don't know that either. We know that there's a lot of games out there that make huge potential for money. And yesterday I was talking with a couple of game devs. We were kind of getting really into the weeds on money stuff. And the one thing that I would encourage, again, is for every game developer out there to think about making their own game. This one developer I know I was talking with, going back and forth with him a little bit, vicariously through another developer friend of mine. We were trying to figure out exactly how much money he had made on Steam with this very small indie game release. And we got somewhere between 50 to 30,000 sales. At $35 a sale, even with the Steam cut, that's a lot of money. That's a big old boatload of money.
If you're a one-person operation with very little overhead, you're not doing too bad then. No.
Yeah, no, you're doing pretty darn good. Now that's just one sales person on Steam.
Yeah, exactly. One individual can make a good game now, and you don't need to be a billion-dollar company to make a video game. To make one of them video games. We'll so just want to wrap up on this point because Funky's been waiting to post this. The union thing is very sketchy, says Funky Moyne. It's the QA teams that get a union, not the devs, because devs want to get a cut of the sales like TV, movie actors, and musicians do. Now, I'll qualify that by, like, actors do not always get that deal. Some of the if you're a really big name, if you're a really big name, you can negotiate that into your contract.
I correct me if I'm wrong, but are not the vast majority of actors and musicians in a union? Like, you can't work in the industry, you can't work in Hollywood without being in a union.
There's a Screen Actors Guild, which I guess is a union, but I don't know. Is that part of it, that they get a cut of what they do for the rest of their lives? Like, I thought that it was, only if you negotiate into your contract
or something.
So I think, like, but yeah, you're right. And I mean, so if you're an extra in a movie, there's a minimum. Actually, I don't know if extras have to be in the guild, but there is like a standard amount.
Most of them are. Yeah, like any standard. If you're in more than one movie a year, you're in a union.
Yeah, musicians. You're right, Funky. Like that musicians
they have general
do,
casting calls for extras in certain areas, so they go to film in like Nebraska, right? They don't want to ship a bunch of people from one place, so they put out a general call for union for people to come in. But if you're gonna go to Hollywood and you're gonna make a thing of it where you're in you're in 15 different movies and 30 different television shows in 1 year, and you're getting paid for that. That's your primary income. You're in a union.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, you're right, Funky, that musicians absolutely do. And to the point where it gets ridiculous. You have 10 seconds of your song is playing on a radio in the background of a YouTube video, and it gets claimed.
I got to point this out. This is kind of funny. So Kisuke messages me in the middle of the podcast, and he's going, "Oh, are you talking about a project for this for tabletop RPG system?" And I'm like, "Yes." And he's like, "Oh, that's so cool. There's another person that there's another big content creator that I follow that's doing this, and that that's cool that there's more than one project." I'm like, "No, there's just the one project because that's the project that I'm in."
And it's very from what
he successfully figured that. Well, he didn't figure that out, but he it's the same
got
project.
on the trail. Yeah.
There is a big project going on with some content creators and people that are going to put a lot of time, effort, and money into coming up with a competitor to the current tabletop systems that we have. And there's a lot of systems. There's a lot, and all of them have gone sour. All of them have a poison pill in it. All of them have these vipers from sales teams that are like, I wonder how much we can charge. How much blood can we get out of this stone? And every single one of them have gone bad, and so the solution is to just make a new system that replaces all of those systems.
What about Talsorian, though? Like, is that? Are you including Cyberpunk in that?
No, because I would say they're an indie company.
So you're talking about the
company.
Okay,
I'm talking about like all of the current systems that are out there from corporately owned companies. So corporate owned company is going to have a net worth north of like $5 million, and they're going to have more than probably 30 workers, and so that bypasses a lot of very small independent studios. So sorry if I didn't make that clear. It's the corporate control problems. It's not every single system that's out there right now. It's all of the big mainline systems. It's the Games Workshops. It's the Wizards of the Coast. It's all these companies that have been have decided that they're going to not innovate. They're just going to find more ways to charge.
More ways to charge you for what already exists.
Yeah, more ways to go after content creators who make a full-time living creating content. They're going to come after them for at least 30% of what they're making. Which for a lot of content creators, that's going to sink them. That's going to put them back into being a part-time gig, not a full-time gig. As soon as they cut into 30% of what they're making, it's disgusting. These people are so vile. It's free advertising, you fools.
Do they think that it's not going to cut down on what that creator produces for them? That's ridiculous.
I'll tell you what's going to happen, because this is what's already starting to happen. The content creators are going, I am going to find a new system and a new thing to cover to put my skills into. I am no longer going to cover this game, that game, or the other game. I am going to find new ways to function in with, oh, hey, look, here's a group of people who are doing a big co-op group thing that helps to rebuild and redesign tabletop as we know it. And oh, wouldn't you know, they're already advancing quite quickly. Turns out that's a whole lot better of a concept than this stupid idea of trying to cut into what a bunch of other people are doing. Because what happens if every single person that's online on YouTube making content for D&D, what happens when they all turn around tomorrow and stop? Do you think as a company you're going to survive? I will tell you for a fact that you won't.
Yeah.
Idiots.
Right. Heck.
Yeah. Very dumb.
Very dumb.
Once again, a lesson from Microsoft.
Yeah.
Right.
The when Rooster Teeth was previous, and creating Red versus Blue, they actually embraced it, and you can't tell me that didn't bring them a whole bunch of money in Halo sales.
Mm-hmm. Right.
They embraced it.
Iconic.
They did. They embraced it. They turned it into an official Halo licensed product, and benefited from that. But no. Then Rooster Teeth
imploded.
We'll just leave it at that. So yeah. So, but the principle is valid. All right. Well, we've been going for a long time here. We need to wrap up. Unfortunately, I need to get going. So thank you, everybody, so much. Like, subscribe, do the comments, do the things, do all the things, hit the buttons, check out all our channels. And we will see you right back here next Thursday at this same time for another live stream talking about games and whatever else you want to talk about. So,
yeah.
Thank you so much. We'll talk to you again later.